In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy God is one. Amen. Kalimera sas, Stella mu, dikanete. And also good morning to Maxime, hope you're well, and Gary. Good morning, Father Christopher, your prayers. I hope you're all enjoying a beautiful day like we are here. The sun pouring in through the window. And although it feels at least an hour earlier, I don't like it when the clocks change, because I always feel thrown out for some time. For the second time, Brother Daniel. Good morning, Dino. I hope that all is well with you, keeping your son in our prayers. Good morning, Vicky and George. No sun yet in York. Oh. The frozen way to the north of England. Although where I am here, up in Lincolnshire, that's usually regarded as being north by anybody south of London. Nice and beautiful in Worcestershire, that's good. Good morning, Beverly. Right, today we're going to be looking at John chapter 12, verses 27 to 33, which is I would say it's an interesting part of the scriptures. This is a very interesting part, where the Lord begins to, if not the Lord, then certainly John the evangelist begins to talk about the purpose of the crucifixion, which reminds me to say, for Father Christopher, or other Anglicans and Roman Catholics that join us on this, for your Holy Week, may God bless it. May it be truly a Holy Week, and you yourself gain all sorts of benefits from it. For us, our Holy Week is still a very long way off. Nowhere near Holy Week, yes, yet. So we've got plenty of fasting and prayer still to do. Holy Week is a very important part of the church's calendar. Good morning, Ian. Windy and rainy in Cumbria. Well, it may well get to be windy and rainy here, but at the moment it's really truly beautiful. And as I arrived in the church earlier on, all the daffodils are out and nodding their heads in that Wordsworthian sort of way. And somebody at some point has planted a very large number of great hyacinths, were looking fantastic as well. Good morning, Natalia. Anyway, here we go. Now, the thing to keep in mind about this passage is that the Lord is talking to those foreigners, to those Greeks who have turned up. You remember earlier on, some Greek people turn up and they come to see Philip, and Philip goes to see Andrew, and the two of them then talk to the Lord. And the Lord then addresses all of this to the disciples, but also to these Greeks who have turned up. These, by Greeks, it really means non-Jewish people. Good morning, Anthony and Alex. So have that in the back of your mind. Does that make some sense of what it is that the Lord is talking about? So, at this point, the Lord begins looking absolutely fixedly at the cross. Verse 27, now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this purpose I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. Therefore the people who stood by and heard it said that it had thundered. Others said, an angel has spoken to him. Jesus answered and said, this voice did not come because of me, but for your sake. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be cast out. And I, if I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all peoples to myself. This he said, signifying by what death he would die. So, keeping in mind that he's still talking to those Greeks who come to see him. Good morning, Tony. You've got a storm-battered Ireland. Oh my goodness. That always fills me with horror, because that means the storm will be coming in our direction by the end of the week, which is always very miserable to know. Christ starts off by telling us that he is shaken to the core. He says, now my soul is troubled, what shall I say? And the way it says about troubled there actually means really deeply shaken, to the very middle of himself, of his human self, the fathers will say. His divine self is not the same. Obviously, his divine self knows one thing. I think I'm about to sneeze, excuse me. Oof, there'll be another one in its way in a moment. So usually sneeze twice. Distressed, shaken to the very core of his being. The moment has finally arrived, as he said. Here he comes. I don't know why that happens. It's because of sunshine and also because of hay fever. The spring doesn't come alone with me. It comes with lots of sneezing and prickly eyes and blocked noses and things. Anyway, with the arrival of these Gentiles, these Greeks who've turned up asking to see him, alongside that, the Lord knows that now the time has come. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Christos. Now the time has come. The moment, the hour, the ora, has finally arrived for him to face evil head on. The whole purpose of the incarnation, of the Lord's ministry on earth, has arrived when evil is going to operate or try and operate its full power upon Christ. And from a human point of view, the disciples and the others will see, they will seem to see that the Lord has succumbed to this evil and that everything that he has tried to build up has been destroyed in his death. Daniel has said many years, which is actually the correct thing to say. We had somebody staying at the monastery for quite a long time, Michael, who whenever I sneezed would say, "Memory eternal," as if I'd already died. Okay, so that's a really important thing to have in mind. And also, so there the Lord is, really troubled. The hour has come where he must now stand and fight evil face to face. And that for us, of course, is something we can only just begin to try and imagine. It's a long way from our own imagining, because this is God fighting. It's God fighting with all of his might against Satan, who is fighting with all of his might. And although the Satan's might is but as nothing in comparison with God, it is God fighting also in his human nature against this. And of course, we know that he prevails. And the Lord says, "So what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this purpose I came to this hour." Now that is a quotation from Psalm 6. If you look at Psalm 6 at some point, I'm going to read the whole of it. This is the Lord thinking on this in his human nature. O Lord, do not reprove me in your anger, nor discipline me in your wrath. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are troubled. My soul is greatly troubled. But you, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. Save me because of your mercy. For there is no remembrance of you in death, and in Hades who will give thanks to you. I am weary with my groaning. Every single night I will dampen my bed. I will drench my couch with my tears. My eye is troubled by anger. I grow old among all my enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of lawlessness. For the Lord heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord heard my supplication. The Lord received my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and greatly troubled. Let them turn back and be suddenly ashamed. So here we have, it's a bit like Psalm 22 in the Septuagint, where the Lord says on the cross, O God, why have you forsaken me?" And you'll remember they will look to see whether Elijah is going to come. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. And here we have the hint from the evangelist of the depth of the trouble that the Lord undergoes. The other synoptic gospels talk about the Lord deeply troubled in the Garden of Gethsemane as he comes to this hour. John says nothing whatever about that. He glosses over it. And instead, in the Garden of Gethsemane, we have that great high priestly prayer of the Lord, where he appears in the prayer to be fully in control of the situation, which of course he is. But there's also this other side of it, of his deep trouble. And John is giving that hint of that here. And in the psalm written by David, when he has sinned, when he realizes that, and also when he is fighting against Saul, realizing that all his enemies are against him, you'll notice that even in the depth of the trouble, where he's weeping on his bed all day long, his bones are put out of joint on the cross, of course, it ends with saying, but the Lord, and that is the tetragrammaton in Hebrew, the YHWH, the Lord has heard my voice. It will bring him to resurrection, of course. Okay. Good morning to one or two others. We've got Melengath and Aaron have turned up. At home, uni day today. Oh, bone idle. Good luck. We need to pray for Melengath. She's got her interview on Wednesday, the 30th. Good morning, Aaron from Ohio. Live for the first time this week. Today is Monday, so it's easy enough. Kids are off on spring break. Not busy getting them off to school. Very good. Good morning also to Nicoletta. God bless you. God bless you all. So have that in your mind. The Lord is deeply distressed in his human nature. He knows what it is that's coming his way. He himself, as God, but also as man, is about to set himself up and fight sin, not just his own, which he's free from, but sin of everything, everybody. Okay? The 30th, 8:15 in the morning. God bless you, Melenga. That'll be fun. You need to make sure you enjoy it. It's always the trick with these things. Go in there, have fun, enjoy the whole thing, and they'll see how confident you are. Okay, and the Lord then says, it's for this purpose that I came into this hour. Father, glorify your name. Jesus is about to experience for himself everything that we mean by hell. And within that, and because this is the purpose of him coming, he turns to God the Father and says, glorify your name. And in here we have a reflection of what happened earlier on. Remember, Lazarus is raised from the dead for the glory of God. The man with no eyes receives eyes for the glory of God. They see the glory of God within these things. And now the Lord says, glorify your name. The name of God the Father is going to be glorified in what? In the crucifixion. In the crucifixion of Christ, there we see the glory of God. His complete self-emptying, kenosis we call it, his complete self-emptying on the cross. His absolute rejection by humanity. Everything that people could think of that is absolutely appalling thing to do to God, our creator, our maker, the one who keeps us in being, is then racked upon the cross. And this, the Son's glory, the crucifixion, is also the Father's glory. They're the same thing. The ability to take on this amazing sacrifice in love for humanity, in love for his creation, is what we see as his glory. This is his glory. St. Bede said that part of the glory of the Son of God is this: he could choose to do the wrong thing and not suffer, or the right thing, the courageous thing, and suffer terribly. And St. Bede said we also have exactly the same choice: to do wrong and not suffer, to do right and perhaps suffer most horribly. This morning I was reading about the suffering of the martyrs that we celebrate today. We celebrate their day today. Most appalling things: one dragged by horses across thorns until his body was completely torn apart. That's brambles. And then he had hot tar poured down his throat to kill him. Another one, they took them to a school, and all the children with the sharp nibs of their pens stuck their pen nibs into his flesh. It's amazing, isn't it, how cruel humanity can be. And fancy brutalizing children in this way. It's beyond imagining, really. And yet it happened. Well, what's the Father's response in verse 28? Then a voice came from heaven, saying, I have both glorified it, and I will glorify it again. And this is heard clearly by the Lord and by the disciples and by those people who are open-hearted towards Christ. They immediately hear what the Lord says. And the Lord then says, you heard this for your good, not for mine, because I hear it anyway. He doesn't, the Lord is constantly in contact with God the Father. But those people hear it really clearly. Like St. Paul on the way to Damascus in the book of Acts, he hears the voice of Christ clearly. But those around him, they don't hear his voice. They see the light, but they hear nothing. Or they hear thunder. And the same happens here. Those people around him, there are some who hear what they think is thunder. They score no points. Well, as if out of the blue, the red arrows go past. The voice of God going past. They heard the red arrows going past. They receive 0 out of 10. Others say they hear something that sounds like a voice and they say, it's an angel. Well, the red arrows have got wings, so maybe they think this is an angel going past. But those who have inner ears, they actually hear the voice of God himself. Okay? And that is very much the way that we see it anyway. It's reminiscent of the shepherds in the field of Bethlehem. They see the sky full of angels. But just over the way, just over there in Bethlehem, not a soul saw anything. The Magi, they saw a star in the sky which came and went. But everybody else, they saw nothing. Nobody else said to themselves, oh, look, star. Wonder what that means. Okay, so there we go. Then in 31, the Lord says, now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be cast out. And I, if I'm lifted up from the earth, will draw all peoples to myself. He's looking then, of course, at those Gentiles who have come. What are we to make of that? Well, the judgment of this world. The cross is the judgment of the world. The cross itself is the judgment. The cross itself is the casting out of the prince of this world from his power. The cross is the throne of Christ. And of course, it is also the tree of life to be found in the middle of the Garden of Gethsemane. The cross looks to be an object of abject failure. Everything has failed. But the cross is like one of those judo moves that Belengeth could probably tell us about, because she does that. One of those, or taekwondo or something, one of those judo moves that uses the force of the aggressor to overcome the aggressor. And evil itself throws itself fully at Christ, and that itself knocks over evil. Evil itself is completely destroyed. Okay? And that is what it will be that causes Satan to be ejected, sent down, okay, thrown out, it says. It's very, very strong, actually. Thrown out. The word exo afterwards as well. Thrown out. Okay? And in some ways, this is a sort of Red Sea moment. The Hebrews, they crossed over the Red Sea. And in a sense, they had gone from slavery to liberty. Okay? But they then needed, and the Lord then shows them, God shows them the promised land. He says, look, promised land, that's yours. Now, fight for it. And the cross is rather like that. Everything that is necessary is there. You have everything you need to enter into the promised land of heaven, of the complete relationship with God. And we receive that through the cross, because Satan, evil, has done the worst that Satan, evil, can do to God. It has tried to dethrone him as God, tried to kill God, do away with God, humiliate God, throw God out. And by doing so, because also we have to bear in mind the resurrection, everything the worst that can happen, Christ is baptized, and in baptism, he receives all of our sin as well. And on the cross, he then crucifies our sin. And in our baptize, we wash our sin away from ourselves and onto him, and he crucifies that as well. And now what we can do, because we have, I'm just looking at my thing here, look at all these crosses all the way down, let alone the ones, the 6, 7 crosses, big ones on this, and usually wear another one around my neck too. So everything inside a church covered in crosses to remind ourselves that the cross is not failure, it is victory. It is the opposite. It looks to be failure, but in the economy of God, it is not failure, but victory. The worst that human beings can do to God in deposing God, in our corporate running away from God, is to try and kill God off and be independent of God. And yet, what happens is that Christ rises from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life, as it says in the pastoral Troparion. So the very thing that looks to be failure is actually the defeat of Satan. It's where Satan, like that judo move, the aggressor comes to pounce upon you, and by clever use of your own body and using the other person's weight, their strength, their momentum, you then overcome them. Okay? And so Satan is ejected. That is his kato moment. And this is the point where we are then given the armory that we have to be able to fight him. He's now actually within our power. Within our power. It's within your power to defeat Satan, to trample him under your feet. You can do it through prayer, fasting, sacraments, through intimate, not acquaintance, but intimate being united to Christ. By putting on Christ, we can, each of us, all of us together, defeat Satan. Rather, it looks as if time has defeated Judith today. She's only changed. The clocks have changed in England, Judy. That's why it is that's happened. Everything is turned upside down in my mind for a day or two until I get used to this. It's a bit like Holy Week for us. Everything gets turned upside down. Okay, so Satan has ejected his supreme kato moment down. And what does the Lord say? Until I am raised up, anno. Now, it looks as if that crucifixion had another name in Aramaic. There is some witness of this, that rather like we may say, so-and-so is hanged in the jail, and we know exactly what that means. It means they're executed. So raised up had the same sort of feeling as the word hanged might be in English now. He was hanged. He went to visit old Sparky, or something horrible like that. And being raised up in Aramaic had this idea of actually being crucified by the Romans. And so he says, possibly saying it in Greek, I think probably likely saying it in Greek, but the people there will have understood this being lifted up as being crucified. So it's like him saying, so it's a double entendre here. When I am crucified from the earth, when I am lifted up from the earth, anno, I will draw all peoples to myself. And he's now looking at those Greeks who have come. Okay? He said this, says John, signifying by what death he would die. And tomorrow we'll see that all the people standing around about, all of them understood it, that the Lord is saying he's going to die. They all understood that. It's like me saying, tomorrow when I'm hanged, then blah, 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 blah. And you wouldn't think, okay, what's he going to do being hanged? Is he going to hang up from the trees? Is he going to hang upside down from the bars in the gym? Is he going to do what? They'd all know that a rope would go around my neck and I'd be suspended until I was dead. And it's the same sort of thing there as well. Okay? Everybody understands this means his death. Okay? There we go. Let us have a look. See what people have been saying. Keep Melengeth in your prayers tomorrow, please. Who do we have? Tomorrow, the 30th, 8:15. Get a good night's sleep. If you are teaching a lesson, make sure to ask so many questions that even you get bored of your questions. Remember to talk to every child in that classroom in the 15 or 20 minutes you're going to be given. Remember to give them time to answer the questions sufficiently well. So say something like, I don't want your first answer, I want your best answer. So I'm going to count in my head to 5, and I'd like to see everybody's hand going up. 1, 5. Okay. Well, I can see you don't have your hand up. What are your first thoughts about it? Okay. So you're actively engaging the children in the lesson, whether or not they want it. The teacher doing that will be amazed. Make sure that you also, Melengeth, spend half the time with the boys, half the time with the girls, because boys always get 90% of the time. And the teacher doing this will notice whether or not you talk to boys and girls equally. Okay, because they'll have a tick sheet where they'll be going through seeing who you talk to, how often you talk to them, whether you talk to one boy more frequently than the other ones, which is what always happens. And boys will be much more forthcoming, because in that sort of situation, they tend to be more entrepreneurial and they're risk takers more than the girls are. Okay, now that sounds very sexist. Go and read up any pedagogical literature and you'll see that is the case. Okay, so good luck. Guildford, it's sunny. Good morning, Andrew. And Mariana, good morning. God bless you. Our time has changed. It changed yesterday, and I know that in America it changed a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, the cross of the throne of Christ, is it related to Mary as the God-bearer? No, not really. We're mixing metaphors here. There are two different sorts of, really, when we think about Mary, we talk to her also about heaven, paradise, Eden, and all that sort of thing, don't we? And I think that is a way to think about that. Christos, I hope I've explained that. Good. Dino, God bless you. Okay, then, Melengeth, if you want to talk to me later on, I'll be happy to do so. I have interviewed quite a number of people who are teaching jobs, so I might have the odd little idea. Especially if you are teaching a lesson, it's really important to think about all of that, and afterwards talk about it. Say, I try and do X, Y, and Z. Knowing that there's a problem. Make it quite clear that you know that everybody has this problem. You talk to boys more than girls. Everybody who's right-handed talks to the right-hand side of the class more than they talk to the left-hand side of the class. Everybody talks to the front of the class more than they talk to the people at the back of the class, and so it goes on. So have that in your mind. Make sure you're giving the kids plenty of chance to bring out their best thoughts, not their first thoughts. The boys will be there with their hands up, talking all sorts of nonsense, and the girls will be still thinking about, well, I thought about that, didn't like that answer. What about that? No, didn't like that answer either. So they come from Worcester, that's that sort of accent. You like Joe Grundy? Okay, God bless you. Have a good day. God willing, Melengeth will be flying high tomorrow by this time. God bless you all.